It's time for one of the most eagerly anticipated shot clocks we've had in a while, because Kieran Donaghy laid waste to the GAA public by putting out into the ether exactly what he thinks the championship structure should be, both here and on Sky Sport, and there's been a massive reaction. Kieran, how are you doing?
Good job. How's the farm?
Yeah, you're changing things up, bit of a revolutionary.
Well, we'll see. No, I don't think I'm revolutionary. I think it's probably listening to about 100 options over the last number of years and maybe formatting some of them in my own thoughts into it to try and make it slightly better for the club player and the county player. You
do realise that you've made yourself a target for every Tom, Dick and Harry in the country to come up and stand on your foot and until you listen to what their strategy is for fixing this for the next 15 years, Kieran. I hope you realise you've opened a can of worms.
Well, yeah, I'd be looking for a bit of help on 1 or 2 points here today, so they can stand on my toes all day if they want.
All right, so this is a special shot clock. We're dealing with the fallout and the reaction and the analysis from Kieran's suggestions last week. If you missed them, they're all on youtube.com/offtheball, and you just search shot clock. And there's a full podcast as well up on our GAA strand of podcasts on the OTB Podcast Network. So our first point today is club players. So I'm going to intro this. We've got 2 minutes to talk about this. What does your new system do for the club player who, let's face it, have got a raw deal since inter-county football really took off as the most important be-all and end-all? What can we do to fix the lot of the club player?
Well, I'm a club player now, Ger, so my county days are over. So I was very much kind of on the understanding of making sure that the club player was predominant in my thoughts on this topic. So I just think with the club player now, we really don't know whether we're coming or going. That's the way for the last number of years, probably since the qualifiers came in. Teams don't know when their championships are going to be on. Players don't know when the championships are going to be on. Managers don't know when the championships are going to be on. Fellas can't organise anything because they always have that, risk. Look, go back to myself last year. I came home. My brother was married on a Friday out in Spain, and I had to come home on the Saturday morning. Couldn't drink the Friday night. I'd come home the Saturday morning and try and play a game after flight from there. So I just think there could be more of a kind of a system put in place where that you just have certainty over your year. And what we did in the Shot Clock Championship draw is that basically that the year is full on for the club player from November. Their pre-season like normal. You go into January and February where you're starting to get ready for county league games. Once the county boys are playing their provincial championships all around the country, all the club boys will be getting their few games of county league in, which are important for the player because you're going to be training since November, so you want to get playing something, and then basically build it up to that club championship bit in April when the county lads come back. And I hear some people saying they don't want to play club championship in April, but for club players they're training 5 months at that stage. Like, of course they want to play a big game. They don't want to be waiting all the way to August or September for a big game. So you play your first few rounds there, you prepare well, you know who you're playing, you play your first few rounds, and then you basically kind of what we've said is that I've said June's off for the club players, but obviously every club manager isn't going to give the whole club crowd off the whole month of June. But what he will say is, look lads, we're going to go train the first week, but we'll give you 3 weeks off then if you want to organise a bit of summer holidays, if you want to go to the States to see your friends, if you want to go here, you want to go there. But I want you back on the first because we're going to have another 5 weeks to get ready for club championship after that. That's once our county team doesn't make it to the next level of their tier 1 or their tier 2 championship. So it's just certainty over their schedule, and they know then they're back in July and they've August and September to try and win a county championship. And also, if you can get all that done, I think we can run off these into the AIB club championship before December too, where it actually gives fellas proper time off and time to recover.
Yeah, and everybody will pay attention to it as well because it's the only Gaelic football show in town, and so all of a sudden these club matches become really interesting and the marketing campaigns roll in behind them as opposed to what exactly are we trying to promote here? Okay, so what's next?
Exactly. I suppose another thing that was thrown at it is, that the tier 2 competition, that how is that going to be, for players down there? Is that going to be marketed? Is that going to be incentivized? Is that going to be more than just, it's a tier 2 competition, because that's what they're afraid of. They got burned badly by the Tommy Murphy jar, I think.
Yeah, can I just talk a little bit about this? A little bit of experience of buying media rights. We've bought football rights, we've bought rugby rights, we've bought GAA rights over the years. You can just put in a contract that a certain amount of airtime has to be given and dictated to games from whatever competition it is. So traditionally, we were always told that in the Six Nations, the under-21 game was always shown on the Friday night because it was bundled as part of the package. If you want this, you've got to get this. It's like the Confederations Cup. It's always on TV. If you get the World Cup rights, you've got to show the Confederations Cup. All the GAA have to do is say, we have 5 packages. Every single package includes some games in the Tommy Murphy Cup or whatever it's called. The Mick O'Dwyer Cup, I think, is a brilliant name for it. And that's it. It's locked into a contract. You are contractually obliged to show 10 minutes of highlights in your highlight show about these games. And so you guarantee from the get-go. And then the local media takes over and decides, this is interesting, these are good stories, these are good characters. And the individual counties can push their own narratives if they want.
Yeah, and I think getting a good sponsor is important. I was just thinking of ways, and we'll throw it out there, to incentivise that tier 2 competition. So, one thing is we're always trying to promote our games in the UK and England. So I was checking if it was possible, and it mightn't be, to have the semi-finals of the tier 2 competition on in Gaelic Park in New York. So all 4 teams go out on a Friday. They get acclimatized on Friday, and then there's a game Saturday at 2:00 and a game Saturday at 7:00 or something like that, where all the GA public in New York come out. All the players get a holiday. Every team starting the year knows, geez, if we can get to the semi-final at the Mick O'Dwyer, we'll get a trip to the States. We'll get a game in front of 8,500 people over in Gaelic Park. A great buzz, maybe a gala dinner that night. And then everybody's home on the Sunday, ready for work on Monday morning, which will be a bit hard. But then you give them 2 or 3 weeks off to get ready for their Mick O'Dwyer final that I think should be on in Croke Park. I don't think there should be the minors, 17-year-olds playing in Croke Park. I don't think it does anything for them. If anything, it kind of probably affects a lot of them in the wrong way, where they win an All-Ireland in Croke Park. They think they're king of the walk. They go off to college. They start enjoying nightlife. They're minors. They're playing a bit on that. And I just don't think it's any good for them at that age. So I think playing your Tier 2 All-Ireland final at 2:00 at 1:30 and your Tier 1 final, at your Sam Maguire final at 3:30 would be a great festival of football for them to look forward to at home. Obviously, both teams in the Mick O'Dwyer would be promoted to Sam Maguire that year, and also they get the chance to play an All-Ireland final day with the big crowd. I think then you'd get buy-in from every Tier 2 team as, Jesus, yeah, that sounds kind of exciting. We can try and win our provincial championship, and we've got this great competition to look forward to. But that's the GA. Maybe getting somebody like Aer Lingus involved to, Aer Lingus are a huge multinational company, have massive ties to Ireland. I'm sure they could do a good marketing campaign, maybe telling the stories of certain family members of each team going over that has gone to America in the past. We all know somebody that's gone to the States. Maybe put a nice slant in it like that. But basically what they're doing is they're covering for the flights over, and you'd have loads of people in America who would love to jump in the sponsorship thing and put the teams up. So there'd be no cost to the county boards. It'd be just something that they could look forward to at the start of the year at Triple A.
You can build the cost into the rights package and say it's cost of doing business, and there's loads of different ways to skin that. You could have them in London; they can move year to year, so that it is.
Yeah, you could bring them. Absolutely, you could bring them over like Ruislip. They've done a fantastic new development there. London GA have done a great job in getting that down on the ground. 100%, you could bring the 4 teams over there. They get the same night out with less travel. They get the same night out afterwards. They get the same good atmosphere. Look, I play basketball in front of 1,000 people every week, Ger, and I'm buzzing with the atmosphere. So I think for these guys, all you want is crowds in the stadium, and the stadium fit for purpose that you have, that it makes like it's a good atmosphere.
As ever, let's move on to the next one. As ever with any of this stuff, it's up there to be shot down and immediately people are coming back. But hang on a second, I want my opportunity to play for the big competition. That's the traditional thing that gets the so-called weaker counties always say, but look, I want my day out. I want to believe that I'm in the same competition when the season starts as everybody else. Fair play, Enda McGinley was on and he had a fairly good idea about, well, what about making the provincial champions automatically into the top tier? There's a little bit of jiggery-pokery to do in case everybody comes through some year who shouldn't be in there. But what about this idea, if we have to bow down to tradition and say everybody has a crack, here's your crack. If you win your provincial championships, fair play, you get an opportunity to go on and play for the Sam Maguire.
Yeah, it's it's a very interesting point by Enda. In theory, it's very good. I'd be just worried about how they would how you would turn around in March and all of a sudden have to tell somebody that's been getting ready for the Sam Maguire that they're demoted and that this team are promoted. All the fixtures would have been made by that stage already. So, like, if somebody is awaiting that could get that to work, it certainly would. It certainly would, because let's call a spade a spade. It'd be rare enough that a team from Division 3 or Division 4 is going to win the provincial championship. But to have it there and to have that carrot there, because I think having the provincial championships in January and February, or February and March, I think gives these Division 3 and Division 4 teams a better chance to win, because it could be windy, it could be a bit cold. If you were playing at home, you'd let the grass grow, you'd bring in the pitch, you'd make it all, you'd set the terms to give yourself the best option. But it's just a bit tricky to install in March that if we'll say, for example, if Cork went on and won the Munster final this year, which wouldn't be outside the realms of possibility.
Yeah.
But I was talking to a buddy of mine, Vinnie Murphy, last night, and we talked about a few topics on this, and I was kind of saying, like, winning, if you're in Division 3 or Division 4 or you're in the second tier and you win your provincial championships, that's huge for you that year. That's a huge thing. Your mindset, if we couldn't get it to work where the winner of their province, and like, I don't think we need to build up, like, you're winning your province if you win it in February and March. Do you know what I mean? I don't know how else we have to build that up. Yeah, you're not getting into the Sam Maguire, but realistically, if you're able to win your provincial championships and you're not in the Tier 1 competition, that's kind of your own fault. You got to go out and win Tier 2 and get into it. That would be my opinion.
Yeah, so a hard no thanks, we like your idea, but...
Well, it's just logistically how you can get it in. It's a great idea in theory, and if anybody out there can kind of come up with a way that, we can have this idea that if one of these teams out of nowhere come along and win their provincial championships, how do we then get them in for the race for Sam Maguire?
Yeah, but
at such late notice when all the fixtures are made, it's just a bit tricky.
But what about one of those years where Roscommon were actually in Division 3? If they were to win Connacht, if Cork were in Division 3 and they won Munster, and suddenly Dublin, I don't know, everybody gets dysentery on one of their Christmas trips, and suddenly it's like a Westmeath Laois final, and Cavan just before they make their run, and suddenly you've got 4 teams and you're dropping. So I don't think it works. I think you're dead right. I think unless there's some logistical way you can do it where
I think if a Division 3 or Division 4 team wins their province in March, they're absolutely delighted. They're celebrating.
There's a trophy and there's a prize. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're a bit annoyed with themselves that they're not in the race. So their message to their team or my teammates would be, geez, that's great now, lads, that, if I'm a Clare footballer and we go along, we beat Kerry and Cork or Limerick football and we win the Munster Championship, my thing is now is, geez, let's go win the Mick O'Dwyer, let's get our trip to New York, let's get into the final and All-Ireland final day in Croke Park, and let's show everybody how good we are and build for next year. That would be my idea.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that nice in principle, not going to work practically. And look, let's make the provincial competitions something worth winning in and of themselves, and turn them into an early season festival of football. And that's the next thing that we need to describe exactly how this might work, because people are a little bit curious. There's these different size provinces, there's a different range of games, there's different levels of competition in each of the provinces at the minute. How do you see this part of it working, Kieran?
Yeah, well, myself and Owen, when I say myself and Owen, I give Owen the idea and he goes away and figures out a way because he's got a good brain. But basically, yeah, so like we figured it out that everybody can get their kind of 5 games in guaranteed. You've 2 groups in Leinster, you've a group of 6 and a group of 5. But in Munster, you've got 6 teams, so everyone will play each other with a final. So the finalists will get 6 games, everybody else will get 5. They'll get a number of them at home, obviously, and a number away. So I think for all the provincial boards, they're going to make more money out of this because every team is going to play 5 times, whereas in a lot of counties or a lot of provinces, a lot of counties just play once and get knocked out and they're gone. They're into the qualifier road. Whereas this way, every if you're allowed footballer, you're getting 5 games, you're getting a chance to play all these games, and it's just to try and make sure that they can all have a chance to get games under their belt and get a bit of confidence and get ready for whatever tier they're in come the championship time.
Yeah, it seems really straightforward, I think, and actually it's an opportunity for those games to matter a bit for local rivalries, because let's face it, everybody would like to see their local rivalries develop year after year after year, and it's that time of the year when people are desperate for inter-county football. So like people show up to the O'Byrne Cup games. Exactly.
Yeah.
In quite big numbers, you know, and the football's not great because nobody's at the full level of their skill set or fitness just yet, but everybody wants to see it. So, like, build this properly and let it breathe. Give it a 5-year betting in period and see what happens.
Yeah, like like these provincial championships will be huge, and as you said, everything is a local derby because it's all provincial championships. So the crowd are absolutely going to come out. It's not a Wexford coming to Killarney to play Kerry. It's Cork, it's Tipperary, it's Clare. Then, as I said on SHOTCLOCK last week, we bring them to venues that are going to, you know, give an atmosphere. So the Kerry Cork game is probably being Killarney or Páirc Uí Chaoimh. You know, if it's Kerry versus Limerick, you bring it to Austin Stacks Park and you try and get 8,000 or 9,000 the Kerry fans in there. So you have an atmosphere at every game, and you've local rivalries, and it's just the fact that you're going to get 5 games, and every team gets 5 games. It's going to improve them. It's going to give them lots to work on, and the time off between the provincial championships and the 2-tiered Sam Maguire and the Mick O'Dwyer competitions. They'll get time in the middle to get their club month out of the way, and then also get another month of preparation. And so, you know, I definitely think it's a good way to go, and it gives, I think, playing at that time of year also does give these teams in the tier 2, we'll say, and even some tier 1 teams a better chance to win their province. So
I think you could see it as well. So the worst team in each province automatically gets the best team at home. So Kerry always go to Waterford. That the Dubs always go to, I don't know which of the teams at the bottom of Leinster is the worst at the moment, but that you know, London always get Mayo or always get Galway or maybe Roscommon, depending on who is the best one in
or New York. Obviously always get a home game, and you always, you know, that's going to be something to work in there as well. And we were talking about, you know, especially New York, because a lot of guys over there might be able to fly home for games. So working out a way to get New York in, and this is
tricky,
big,
but it's doable.
You know? Yeah, it's doable. Absolutely, it's doable. You know, it's again, it's. I think if they knew that they were going to have 5 games in New York, I think they could get on to companies over there, big Irish multinational companies in New York, to say, listen, look, we've 4 teams coming here this year. It's going to be great. It's going to be in February and March. Can we get somebody to help get these guys over or put them up or whatever the case may be is, because I think every team in Connacht would be delighted with a trip to New York, to play in New York. And then what you do is you put New York into Munster the following year, and you give the Munster Championship its day over in the States, and maybe you do it on the rotation system all the way around. But look, all we're looking for is good quality games that people are going to like going to see, that there's going to be a trophy there at the end of the day. All right, you know, and I think that provincial structure works well.
That alarm there in the background is the hurling community going.
Is it playing? I can go. Oh, it's just gone off.
It's the hurling community going.
Did you have a chat with somebody?
I did, yeah.
They're doing,
it's like, calm down.
A fire drill for the FOSS workers inside. Like, come on, guys.
You'll be grand, don't worry. Hurling will have its day in the sun as well. Right, so the top games, we wanted kind of just to whet people's appetite for what the top tier games would be and what they would look like. So a sample Dublin schedule is away to Donegal, at home to Kildare, away to Cavan, at home to Mayo, away to Westmeath, at home to Monaghan, and away to Armagh. It's a brilliant schedule where the Dubs travel around the country, they bring their fans everywhere, supporters, and all of a sudden the championship is alive because everybody feels like in a tight pitch they're not going to be 5-22 to 11 points. There is actually an outside chance that maybe on a tight pitch they can keep this tight, and with a feverish crowd, who knows what's going to happen. It's probably not true. It's probably true that the Dubs will win every game anyway, but we saw when they went up to Omagh last year, they weren't the same team as they were in Croke Park.
Yeah, well, even forget about, you know, who's going to play well and how hard it's going to be for Dublin or whatever, but just the fact that what you said there sums it up, is that it's a festival of football. You know, there's unbelievable games on every weekend. You're getting to pick the TV companies, whether it's Tina G, Sky Sports, RT. They'll have their pick between 2 tier 1 games and 2 tier 2 games every week. You package them together, and it's a kind of a real festival of football. People want to watch it. But, you know, people are also saying, ticket prices, if I'm travelling around the country that much. I think the GAA would look at this, and if they did have something like this in place, I think they could say, we'll lower the ticket prices. Let's get more bums on seats. Lower the ticket prices, and maybe, you know, look to get more people there. And I think these games, obviously with Dublin, it's going to be sellout, it's going to be box office, but I just think there's an amount of good games there with every county at very interesting places. It'll be also new, your Kerry going up to Healy Park in the championship, there'll be skin and hair flying up there, and the crowd Healy Park will be sold out. It's really exciting for a player, and then these games there'll be such a build up to these games every week, and they're coming hot and heavy. So the tickets was one thing that was thrown at me on Twitter during the week about the cost of following your team around the country, etc. If you can afford to go to every game, of course you mightn't be able to go to every game. If you can afford, great. If you can't, you can watch it on TV. There'll be a lot of good games on TV. Maybe they bring in that streaming system that we talked about last week, that if people aren't guaranteed highlights on the Sunday game that night, that their game can be streamed by somebody that can go the GA Go or whatever, that you can get to watch it. But it's just, could we enjoy that summer of football? I think we could definitely enjoy it more. We've got a team going for 5 in a row, the best team of all time, and we don't get to see them for a number of weeks. It's crazy that we're only getting to see glimpses of this great team and other good teams around the country.
Yeah, when you think back to how few games that the original team who went for 5 in a row, that Kerry team, were actually on TV. You'd see them in an All-Ireland semi-final, maybe, and an All-Ireland final, and that was it. And everybody thought, well, that's not enough. And it's kind of not a million miles away now from this great team not playing enough games that everybody gets to see. So what games are we predicting this week? We're going to predict the Champions League final, Cavan against Armagh, Cork against Limerick, and whether or not Kerry can cover the 13-point spread against Clare. Champions League final, I think it's going to be Liverpool on penalties.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Liverpool too. I think, after last year and the kind of the mistake last year in the final, I think that there's a real chance that this Liverpool, the hunger that they'll have on the day will be just a bit too much for Spurs, because Spurs are there it'll be their first time there, first time for everyone. It's huge that they've got there. I just think Liverpool are ready for this. I even saw something on Twitter about Klopp dancing with some of the fans after they lost the final last year, saying that they'd be back to bring home the European Cup, etc. So, they've done really well this year. They were very unlucky in the Premiership, and just I suppose that draw against Everton that day forced them to lose that. So I just think that they've been so narrow focused on winning this, and they're there, and they've done it the hard way. They've beaten great teams. They've had to beat Barcelona 4-0, and I just think that this game is going to be their almost to make up for not winning that league that they're desperate for so much. But this Champions League is huge, obviously. So yeah, I'll take Liverpool 2-1.
Okay, Cavan against Armagh, what's going to happen here?
I think Cavan are going to win. Look, I was just really impressed with them when I saw them above against Monaghan, and I saw the highlights of Armagh, and I'm equally as impressed with Armagh, but I was there live for the Cavan game, and just watching some of their big players really perform, and Mickey Graham seems to have been moving really, really, really well, and they have a very good tactical approach to the game, and I was very impressed by that. So I think it's going to be a really good game, but I'll take Cavan by 2 or 3 points. Okay,
Cork Limerick, what's going to happen here? I'm going Armagh just to go against you, by the way, but go on, yeah.
Okay, good. Are you going to let me call out these first, and then you pick the other ones? And I think I'm going to go with Cork. It's on in Park Urin. I just think, the pride in these players is going to have to come out, and they're going to have to find a way to beat this very well-organised and young Limerick team that Billy Lee is moving really well, and they beat a very good Tipperary team. So they won't give it to Cork easy, but I'd say Cork by about 3 points.
I have a feeling that Cork have more in them, and actually they're gonna win that one well. I just think that there's there is that pride thing, but there's also, I think, just enough brain power now around Cork that actually this is going to be a summer where we see progression.
I really do think Limerick are going to put it up to them. I really do. I just saw the Cork team name last night, and it wouldn't overly frighten you. So I think Limerick will be looking forward to that battle.
I should give you credit. You were one of the few people in the country who picked Roscommon to beat Mayo. You were dead right. So you're on a hot streak at this point. So anybody who's backing against you is a bit stupid. But are Kerry covering the 13-point spread against Clare? I'm saying yes.
No, no, they're not. Give Clare some credit. Clare are a good team. Clare were in an All-Ireland quarter-final 3 years ago, and I was outside running around after Gary Brennan. I might as well have, if he'd have gone to the toilet, I would have followed him in. That was my job for the day. So Clare have to be given credit. Yeah, they're in Munster. People don't give them any dues for what they've done in the game by getting to the quarter-final a few years ago, being really competitive all the time. You know, we were up there 2 years ago, I think, in the Munster Championship, and I think it was Malone went in and hit a shot off the crossbar that went down off the line and back up when they were a point down with like 8 or 9 minutes to go. And if that goes in, it's a 2-point game. So there's no way Kerry are covering 13 points above unless something dramatic happens, unless this Kerry team are storing something that's going to take us all by surprise. But this is going to be a very close game. The Kerry players know it. I know it. I'd say the Clare players know it. And I would say Kerry by 4 max.
I'm going to let that one linger. I would say 9 or 10 is the...
I'm doing the opposite to David Brady. David Brady told everybody last night that Mayo were going to win by 15 points and they lost to Roscommon. So I'm trying to take a bit of heat off my Kerry boys, maybe.
Oh man, you're you've got a bit of work to do before you get to Darragh O'Shea levels or Owen Sheehan levels just yet. But good stuff. Another shot clock in the books. Kieran, thanks a million.
Good stuff. Thanks.